Welcome guys, I'm Shantaz and today I'm sharing with you guys a few of the upcoming cars coming out this 2020. Now these are my favorite list of cars which I liked for this year. Number 10 on my list is Toyota Supra. Now this car originally came out earlier this year with an 3-liter turbocharged inline 6 engine producing about 335 horsepower and 365 pound-feet of torque. This car is fast, doing about 0 to 60 in 4.1 seconds, but the biggest disappointment in my opinion is this is nothing like the old classic Supra we all love, where those cars producing, when you tune it right, you can produce almost 1,000 to 2,000 horsepower easy, and those things are fast. Now with this engine it's much more complex. Now Toyota partnered with BMW and they developed the engine together, at least that's what they're saying, but in my mind I think this is a Z4 BMW. So that's why I put it on number 10 on the list. Number 9 on the list is Audi RS5. Now this car is fast. Now this is doing about 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds, and the styling of this car, I really like it. I think it's classy and it's edgy at the same time. It delivers a performance which is able to compete with other cars as well. Now this car is coming with an engine of 2.9 liter turbocharged V6 producing about 444 horsepower and 443 pounds-feet of torque. Now this is a quadro car, which means this is an all-wheel drive car, so at straight line performance this car goes pretty fast. Now the styling on this car is pretty nice, as far as it's very sharp, and the design overall, like with the wide stand, if you see it in real life, it looks pretty nice. And I think that's why I put it on the number 9th on my favorite car list. Now number 8 on my list is Nissan GTR. Now this car came out a while ago, sometime around 2009, and over the course of years they have improved the car and tweaked it so that they can get more out of the platform design they have. Now this car has a 3.8 liter turbocharged V6 producing about 565 horsepower and 467 pound-feet of torque. Now this car is doing 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds, and it is fast. To be honest, a lot of high-end sports cars and exotic cars still struggle to meet that 0 to 60 time. The style haven't changed much over the course of years. They just refined the interior, try to make it much more silent inside the interior so that there's not a road noise coming in. The trim have improved, and they try to improve the driver's dynamic as well. Now there is a much more hardcore track version, which is a Nismo model, which is much more faster and really good in the track. And I thought this is a car which I liked for many years, and I still want to own one, and that's why I put it on the list as number 8. Number 7 on my list is Porsche 718 Cayman GT4. Now this car is coming out with another trim, which is 718 Spider with the top down. So if you guys are looking for that, or if you're interested to check the top down version, I think this is worth looking into. Now this car is coming out a 4-liter naturally aspirated flat 6 producing about 414 horsepower and 309 feet of torque. Now this car is doing 0 to 60 in 4.9 seconds, so this car is fast. However, this is an ultimate driver's car. This is completely designed for the track. The brakes are big, the car is very low to the ground, and it's got a flat 6, so the center of gravity is very low to the ground. So it will reward you when you drive from apex to apex or turning corners, and you could do it at a very fast pace comparing to other cars. So that's why I put it in the list, and eventually if I have the money I'd probably buy one, and that's why I put it on the list for number 7 of my favorite cars. Now number 6 on my list is MercedesAMG C63. Now this car is fast. It's doing 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds. from an engine bi-turbo V8 producing about 469 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque. Now this car is very stylish. I always liked C63s because it's a Benz and it goes fast, so why not? Plus, you can hear about this car in a lot of music videos that they're talking about, oh, we come here in C63s and stuff. So that's why I like it, but for me, I just like how the Mercedes brand is. Usually they're very luxury and the cabins are very quiet. Now personally, I haven't driven the 2020 Mercedes yet, and I don't know how quiet and how luxurious the interior is, but it's a Benz, so previous years were pretty good, so I'm looking forward on driving the new model. Now if you want a car which is fast and very luxurious, I think this is worth checking out. Number 5 on my list is Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. Now this car is coming with a Corvette engine, 6.2 liter naturally aspirated V8 producing about 650 horsepower and 650 pound-feet of torque. Now this is a muscle car. However, this muscle car feels like much more in sports car. Now the ZL model is coming with a package upgrade for the track, which gives you better handling and better braking in the tracks. Now these braking and handling usually comes with the suspension systems and the brakes, which they're offering as a package. Now I really like the aggressive design of this car, and I feel like this is a muscle car with an old school design. However, it's much more modern than old school. So with the conjunction of both, I think this is worth mentioning, and it's a muscle car. Who doesn't like muscle cars? So that's why I put it on my list on number 5. Now the next one on my list is 2020 Ford Mustang Shelby GT500. Now there is another model, GT350, but however I really like the powerful version of the GT500. Now this car is coming out with a 5.2 liter supercharged V8 producing about 760 horsepower and 625 pound-feet of torque. Now this is doing 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds. Now this car is a muscle car, however, this is not just good in a straight line. This car can go through turns. Sometimes this car also feels like you're driving a Porsche 911 GT3 RS. So comparing to those cars, this car is pretty good. Now the aggressive styling, the brakes, the tires, the rims, and the front end looks superb. And I always liked Mustangs, the old school Mustangs, and I feel like the modern ones, especially this one, looks very nice, and the peel on this is pretty good as far as comparing to other muscle cars. So that's why I put it on the list. So number 3 on my list is Dodge Challenger SRT Hellcat. Now this car is fast. It's coming with 2 different type of engines. One which produce 717 horsepower and 656 pound-feet of torque, and there's another model which is red eye version, which they call the Hellcat Red Eye, which is producing about 797 horsepower and 707 pound-feet of torque. Now this car is an old school muscle car. This car is fast on a straight line, like fast means fast. This is basically a dragster. Now the official 0 to 60 on this car is not mentioned because this depends on slowly on what tires you're using, whether you're on performance mode or something, and I think this goes on 0 to 60 on low 3s. Now comparing to the other muscle cars, this car is not good on turns. I'm saying this because I drive one myself, not the Hellcat, but the SRT Scat Pack models, and this car is not good on turns. It feels like a boat. Whenever you're turning, you feel like you're rolling the entire car over, and it's not fun. However, on a highway drive or regular cruise, or when you're drag racing, this car is fast. So that's why I put it on number 3 on my list. Number 2 on my list is the BMW M2S. Now this car is a 3-liter turbocharged inline 6 producing about 444 horsepower and 406 pound-feet of torque. This car is doing 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds. Now you might be asking, why did I put it on number 2nd on my list? Now this car is basically all the performance you can get on an M3 or an M4 model, tune it down to a smaller version. Now this is a great fun car, rear wheel drive, you can go around on turns super fast, and you can do track days, you can do daily drives on it, and that's why I really like this car. Overall, most people wouldn't like this, but for me, as far as an enthusiast goes for driving capabilities in performance and daily driving goes, I think this fits the bill perfectly. To be honest, I originally liked the M3s, but when the M2 came out in the States and I looked into it, and I really started liking these cars. Now this car comes with a manual transmission, so if you know how to drive a stick, you know how fun it is to shift gears and maneuver through traffic or go through turns. So I like the feeling of it, so that's why I put it on 2nd on my list. Now number 1 on my list is Chevrolet Corvette, the C8 model. Now you guys probably already heard about this. Now this one is coming out on 6.2 liter naturally aspirated V8, producing about 490 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque. Now this car is fast, and I mean fast. It's doing 0 to 60 in 3 seconds flat. Some of the official numbers, that's what the Corvette guys are saying. However, in other videos which I've seen, that people are doing 0 to 60 in 3.2, 3.3 seconds. So it depending on the drivers and the tires and the weather conditions, I think that's what the numbers they're getting. Now the reason I chose this as number 1 car for me is because the price on this car. The price on this car is cheap. Now this car is going retail for about $65,000 to almost $70,000 depending on what trim, what add-ons you put in. Now for 60 grand, at least that's what the manufacturer is saying, I think this car is a bargain. It's a mid-engine car, and with that money you cannot get any like Ferrari, McLaren, Porsches. They cost way over 100 grand. Now the performance on this car is pretty top-notch. You can go through turns, you can drive it in a straight line, and it feels like a nice, like luxurious sports car. The interior on this is pretty nice. It's pretty driver focused, and they have like different trims, and I really like the white trim. It feels like you are sitting on a rocket jet engine and you're driving basically a jet. So that's why I chose this one as number 1 car for me. Let me know what you think of your number 1 car is. And please, if you haven't subscribed, please do like the video. That will really help me, and I will see you on the next video. Thank you.